Gun Rights Radio Network has the best pro-Second Amendment, pro-gun rights podcast available on the net. The podcasts are absolutely free when subscribing using iTunes or Zune Marketplace. Or if you want, you can just listen from the website. Make sure you visit gunrightsradio.com to subscribe. Podcasting freedom, one episode at a time.
One thing I'll point out real quick on this is that it has a standard spur grip safety. What I had to do to actually shoot this gun and not bleed is I put tape here in the grip, in the base of my thumb here, just because of the fact that when I grip this thing, I'm gripping it high and very tight into here, and just from the recoil, it wouldn't dig in. So I just put basically tape over my thumb there. It kind of got to be a joke with a lot of shooters of why you have tape in your hand, but that's the reason why I had tape in my hand.
Pretty standard. That's one of the knocks against the old GI pistols is that they bite. The hammer will actually come back and pinch the meat of your finger between the thumb, grip safety, and the hammer. What I did on this gun is I just trimmed a couple of the serrations off and rounded this off and smoothed it so there's no sharp edges. And it's designed to fit my hand. Somebody else maybe would have to trim it a little bit more, but I find that just removing the sharp edges is sufficient. And if you've got a gun with a standard grip safety like this, some shooters will tell you that having a beaver tail grip safety like this is second only to having a barrel in your gun, that you absolutely have to have it. But I can take it or leave it. Some of my guns have beaver tails and some don't. This is actually the gun that I put together to match this gun. This is a 38 Super, which is legal for single stack minor and also legal for enhanced service pistol. And it's designed, the intent was to match this pistol so I could transfer between the two of them without having to adapt to a different trigger pull, weight, different features. It's got the same ambidextrous safety on it, grip tape on the front strap. The only real difference is that this gun's got a white dot front sight versus the fiber optic front sight. But functionally, they're identical. The weight's the same. They balance the same. They have all the same features on them. And that's a nice feature to have if you're going to shoot two different guns that you want them to feel the same, have the same balance and whatnot. But again, neither of these guns has a whole lot of bells and whistles on it. This gun's got the stock factory barrel in it. It does have a matched bushing and a trigger job, but basically it's not unlike what you can buy over the counter.
I notice you have ambidextrous safeties in both of yours. Is that primarily because of the fact that you're
because I'm left-handed? Yeah. If I do not use the ambidextrous feature when I'm shooting with my right hand. Right. If I'm shooting a weak hand stage where I'm drawing and transitioning, I will have already flipped the safety off with my left thumb before transitioning because my right thumb isn't used to fiddling with the safety. I'd rather get it out of the way and then transition. A lot of shooters will use ambidextrous safeties whether they're left-handed or right-handed. It's pretty much necessary for a lefty, but if you're right-handed, it's I'd say take it or leave it. If it's a complication, I mean, it adds an extra part.
Right. Being in mine is, I'm right-handed and I don't have one on mine.
Yeah,
and I have
this gun obviously belongs to some right-handed person because it's got a single-sided safety. Now, in terms of oversize and extended controls, Steve's gun's got the standard Colt factory safety that they've been using since the 40s. This has got an extended safety that's a little bit longer. It's not really wide. This is something that'd be suitable for competition or carry use. It's about the same width and length as the ambi on my gun, and it's just a matter of what fits. There's endless varieties of safeties, and if it turns out to be it's too big, too wide, whatever, you can trim it down.
Yeah. That's the beauty of 1911s is that there's a plethora of aftermarket parts out there.
Right. I mean,
you go to Brownells and get one of their catalogs and look at all the parts in there for 1911,
and they're mostly bolt-on too. That's the thing is you can switch out. I mean, all my guns have arched mainspring housings, which was a feature that was Colt introduced in the 20s, and most people now prefer the flat mainspring housing, which was the original design from 1911. And so any gun you can swap back and forth. Beaver tails are the same way. There's different contours. Some people can actually claim that they feel like they can shoot better using one brand of beaver tail versus another. It's just whatever you want to bolt on there. You've got your spur hammer, commander hammer, long trigger, medium trigger, short trigger, extra long trigger, wide trigger, steel trigger, aluminum trigger, titanium trigger. Grips of wood, grips of plastic, grips. And it just. Yeah. Beaver tails, small, medium, large, extra large. I think this is a Techwell, which is the largest on the market, both single stack and custom defensive pistol, enhanced service pistol, the gun has to fit into a box of specific size. And this is about as big a funnel as you can put on there and still have the lid of the box close on there. And I have found over the years that the funnel, it doesn't speed up your average reload a whole lot, that it reduces the number of reloads that you just completely blow, because it's hard to miss this opening. You bevel your mag well, you've made the opening maybe 1/8 of an inch wider. You add this thing on here and you've made the opening, you've essentially doubled the size of it. So it's a worthwhile feature, especially when you're not really too concerned about the bulk, but you do have to pay attention to the weight, because if the gun is all steel, this you've added the weight of the mag well on here. If you put a full-length guide rod on it, like Steve's got on his, it adds about an ounce or so to the weight of the gun. And so if your gun is all steel and you start adding this stuff onto it, you're going to hit the weight limit. And so this gun, for instance, does not have the full-length guide rod. It's got a plastic mainspring housing, and it weighs 40 ounces. If this mainspring housing were steel and it had a full-length guide rod on it, I'd be surprised if it made weight. It would probably be over 43 ounces. So when you're starting to add this stuff on it, you might have to make some compromises exactly how you like the gun set up, but always be conscious of your weight limit when you're fiddling around with the features that you add or you want.
And fitting in the box.
And fitting in the box, exactly. You can see the flat sides on this. I'm sure that's so the lid will close when it's in the box.
So the next thing you probably ought to talk about is magazines, because it seems like magazines are probably one of the key things of making a 1911 work.
Yeah, and one of the things that's gone over, the problem over the years has been, as the gun has developed from this service pistol that's expected only to fire hardball, full metal jacket, round nose ammo, and turned into a competition gun that's expected to fire semi-wad cutters, or a defense gun that's expected to shoot hollow points, that there's been a problem of getting that original military design altered to the extent that it will still be as reliable using a bullet design that didn't even exist at the time the gun was designed. So you've seen changes made to the gun, both the frame and the barrel configuration, and to the magazines, to make it better suited to shooting modern ammunition.
So magazines that I'm kind of always been a fan of the Chip McCormick Shooting Star mags. They've always seemingly worked for me. They're very durable. They're very reliable. I think the one weakness in a McCormick magazine is probably the follower. The follower here will get kind of bent, and if you don't have enough of a spring there or whatever, and it becomes flat, you can run into feed failure. So what I would do from time to time is take it and kind of splay it out a little bit and put a little more push into it, and that usually solves the problem. But generally speaking, I've never had a problem with these magazines ever causing any failures or problems. They like to slide back every time. We talked before about locking the slide back and everything, but they do work. I've never had a problem where I've overrun the slide stop. That's one of the other things, I guess, on magazines, is that you overrun the slide stop and the magazine will be stuck in the gun and you got to literally rip the thing back out. So
one of the issues about trying to turn a 7-round service pistol into an 8-round competition pistol is the magazine design was intended to fit 7 rounds and sufficient spring into the butt of the gun and fit flush. If you take that same mag and try to turn it into an 8-rounder, you've got to give up something. And in general, what's happened over the years is either you've had a less stable follower design or a less powerful spring. And because you've just got to create extra room in the tube for that extra round. And when you think about it, you're trying to lift a heavier stack with more rounds with less spring. And so the 8-round magazines over the years have developed something of a reputation, somewhat deserved, as being less reliable
than 7s.
Than the 7-round mags, but time hasn't stood still. I mean, there have been developments in mag design, and I think while some of it has been in terms of materials, the one that I think that's recently, just within the last 5 years or so, has kind of ended the argument about whether 8-round mags can be as durable and reliable, is the introduction of what I call the extended tube mag. All the mags that were sold on the market generally had a tube length that was the same as the original 7-round mag, and then a large pad was stuck on there to help slam it into the gun. If the gun's got a magwell funnel on the bottom, you must add a base pad on it to have enough room to shove it in there and lock it in. Well, as you'll see, you've got about a 1/2 of an inch of plastic that's just stuck on the bottom of the magazine that's not getting you anything. The modern 8-round magazines take some of that room that was previously just used for the base pad and extended the tube about 1/4 of an inch. So now that allows another couple of coils of spring to be added, a more stable follower design that won't tilt or tip out of the tube, and yet this magazine is actually shorter than the conventional magazine that uses the shorter tube. When you load it into the gun, it protrudes less than this one that doesn't have the functional advantages of this one. So although, like Steve, I've had excellent service. I've been using both 8-round and 10-round power mags for many years and had excellent service. I've retired all my 8-rounders, and I'm now using these extended tube mags.
Who makes those?
Well, everybody's making them now, pretty much. I think Trip Research was the first to come out with the extended tube mag, and now Act Mag, which is an Italian company who sells their mags under many different brand names in the U.S. as factory original and as replacement mags. This is a Checkmate Industries mag, and it's become kind of now the standard for 8-rounders. I wouldn't buy one of these older designs that uses the short tube if I were going to buy 8-round mags for 45. I definitely get the extended style.
Falls out too.
Yeah.
That's another issue about getting your mags to fall free.